In this video we are going to learn how to do multiplication of radicals, and then I will cover rationalization of radicals. So let's start with multiplication. So far we used the property that square root a times b is equal square root of a times square root of b. Now we're going to use opposite. Square root a times square root b is equal square root ab. All right, let's get going. Square root 5 times square root 13. So nothing comes out of square root 5, nothing comes out square root 13. We just multiply 65. And there is no square root of 65. Not even if you break down, let's say 5 and 13. Nothing comes out 5, and here is 13. We already looked into that. Next one. Negative 3 square root y times square root 5x. In many cases, they put in parentheses like this. Well, I say it's unnecessary. Nothing is going to change if you take off. So I say it's not necessary at all. So I'm taking off this parenthesis because it's the same thing like when you put 3 times 2. Take 3 in parentheses, 2 in parentheses. What's the point? Nothing is going to change, right? So I'm taking off parentheses. 5x. So what we get? Negative 3 square root 5x y. We just multiply y with 5x. Next one. Free a. So this is first one, second one. Free square root of a times 2 square root of b minus 5. Okay. How much it's going to be? So we have to distribute 3 square root a times 2 square root b. That will be 3 times 2 is going to be 6, and square root of 8 by square root of b will be ab. Next, 3 square root of a times negative 5. It's going to be minus 3 times 5 is 15, square root of a. Next, negative 4 square root of a times square root 5b plus 6 square root 3. So let's distribute negative 4a square root a times square root 5b. It's going to be negative 4, and it's going to be 5ab. Next one, multiplying negative 4 square root a times 6 square root of 3. It's going to be negative, because negative times positive is negative. 4 times 6 is 24. And square root 3 times square root 3 will be 3a. Next. Negative square root r okay, times square root r minus 4 square root s. Okay. So what do we get? Negative square root r times square root r is going to be negative r times r, which is going to be r squared, yes? And minus negative r times negative 4 square root of s. It's going to be, let me clean this, looks like s squared. 1 second. Okay. This is better. It's going to be minus, negative times negative, so this negative times this negative, it's going to be positive, right? And then going to be 4 square root rs. Now what is interesting here? R squared. So which means we are going to get out r. Negative, we had it, negative r plus 4 square root rs. Okay, next one. So it's going to be number 6. 6 square root x times 6 square root 5 minus 3 square root x. Okay, 6 square root x times 6 square root 5, it's going to be 6 times 6 is 36, and square root x times square root 5, it's going to be 5x, minus this term times this, 6 times negative 3, it's going to be negative 18, and negative x times square root x times x, it's going to be square root x squared. And we have here 36 square root 5x minus 18x, because this square root x squared will come out x. Next one. So problem number 7. We have square root 8x over 25 y to power 6, and it's all under square root. Let me write like this. Okay, what do we have? This is means, let me add here formula. This is multiplication we have. Now let's put division. A over b and under square root is equal square root a divided by square root b. Okay, so you can separate square b. Square root b is radical. Okay, this is gonna be square root of 8x over square root of 25 y to power 6. Okay, square root of 8. What can I do? I can break it down. 8 is at 4 and 2, right? Square root 4 and then times square root 2x. Why did I keep x with 2? Because x is not coming out. Why? Because we have here 1 but we need 2. And 2 also not come out. Different story is 4. 2 will come out of square root. Now, here, square root 5, square root of 25 is going to be 5. And the square root of y to power 6, what we do? We take this 6 and we divide by the 2 that we understand as a 2, right? 6 divided by 2 will be 3, so will be y to power 3. Okay. Next. Nine to power square root 5. Okay. We are moving to rationalization. What is rationalization? When you have square root or radical in denominator, you cannot keep as an answer. Just like if you solve equation and you get negative x cannot be accepted as an answer. We flip to positive x, right? The same way, you cannot have radical or square root under in denominator. Therefore, we need to get rid of this the square root. What I'm going to do, how can I get rid of square root? Only one way. Let's assume I have here square root 2. If I multiply by another square root 2, will I get square root of 2 times 2? Which is square root of 4, which will become 2. Yes? That's the only way. So let's do it. This is what I'm going to do. I have at the bottom square root of 5, which means I will multiply by another square root of 5. Oh, it's too thick. And which means to do the same change to numerator, on the top also multiply by square root of 5. And as a result, what do I get? At the bottom I get clean 5 without any square root. On the top I will have 9 square root 5. Okay, it wasn't difficult, was it? Next one. 4 over 3 under square root. That means, based on this formula, property, rather saying, I can separate square root 4 over square root 3. Next, to get rid of, to rationalize, meaning get rid of square root in denominator, I'm multiplying by square root of 3, which I'm doing on the top also, not to disbalance the fraction. You do not dare to disbalance the fraction, which means whatever change you do to one part of a fraction, you have to do precisely same thing to the other part of fraction. And the answer is going to be square root 3, square root 3 is going to be 3. On the top we will have square root 4. Actually, it's interesting, it's becoming 2. And square root 3 will stay under square root. Next one. 1 over square root 7y. Now we have 7y. Very good. We are not scared of it. Now we multiply square root of 7y. And here also square root of 7y. And as a result, we get clean 7y. And on the top will be square root of 7y. We don't care about the radical or square root in numerator. All we do care not to have in denominator. Okay? Number 11. Let's see. Oh, we are going to deal nice one. Some bold fraction. So 216 x to power 11 and y to power 12 over 125. And that all is under radical. This is equal. I can separate, right? 216 x to power 11, y to power 12. Square root of 125 is how much? 25. No. Oh, we have cubic radical even more interesting. Now we can take 5 out because 5 to power 3, it's going to be 125, right? So it's going to come 5. Now let's see what we can do with the numerator. Since it's clean numbers come out from denominator, we don't need to manipulate with denominator. So let's take care of numerator here. Cubic radical of 216. If you punch on calculator, it's coming out 6. 6 to power 3 is 216. Next, x to power 11. I'm dividing 11 by 3. It's going to come out how many times? 3 times, right? X to power 3. And how much is the remainder? It's going to be 2 because 3 times 3 is 9. Remainder is 2. So x to power 2 stays underneath. Cubic radical. Next, y to power, let me see, y to power 12. 12 divided by 3. We get clean 4. Very good. Which means we get y to power 4. And we are done. And this 5 stays underneath. Very good. Next one. Cubic radical 4y to power 8. In denominator, cubic radical 27x to power 9. Cubic radical 27x to power 9. Okay, now let's see. First, before I start rationalizing, because I have here fraction, I have radical in denominator, but before I try to rationalize, I want to see if it will come out anything. Because I know that cubic radical of 27, I'm breaking down like this, cubic radical of 27 and cubic radical of x to power 9, right? So cubic radical 27 is 3. And x to power 9, 9 divided by 3, it's getting 3. So I'm getting x to power 3. So it's nicely got out of radical itself. So I don't need to do any rationalization. Therefore, it is my advice, always check first if it's coming out of radical or not. If not, only then go to rationalization. Okay? On the top in numerator, what do we have? 4 is going to get stuck underneath because there is no cubic radical of 4. No number to power 3 will give you 4. Now y to power 8. 8 divided by 3. It's going to be twice, right? X squared, which is 6, and remainder is 2. So x to power 2 will stay underneath. And we are done. The only thing we can do, okay, it's a y, I'm sorry. Let me clean, it's y, not x. Okay? Let me clean. Okay. So we are going to get y squared cubic radical 4y squared over 3x cubed. I cannot reduce this x cubed with y squared because two different values, right? Okay. Moving to next one, problem number 13. So we get square root 3 over square root 21x. Okay, there is no square root from 21, there is no square root of x. Therefore, here we have no choice. We need to rationalize, which means multiplying by, oops, this is x. So therefore, I'm multiplying by square root 21x here and multiplying by 21x here. And we get square root 3 times 21. It's going to be square root 63x. And here I will have 21x. Okay, 63, how can I break down? I can break down square root of 9 and square root of 7x, right? I kept x with 7 because nothing comes out with from 7, square root 7, and nothing comes out from square root x, but 3 gonna come out from 9, right? And that is equal 3 square root 7x over 21x. So we can reduce 3 and 21. This will be 1, 21 will be 7, and the answer will be square root of 7x, and at the bottom 7x. All right. Next, square root x over square root 11 minus square root 3. Okay, this is different story here we have. We have between square root 11 minus square root 3, we have subtraction here, so we can't pull from each other. We have to treat it as a one term. Square root 11 minus square root of 3. How I'm going to rationalize expression? I'm going to use the formula. So, and this is going to be the formula. Difference of squared a minus b. Let me use thicker version because that's a formula. A minus b times a plus b. And that is equal a squared minus b squared. Difference of squares. Okay, let's go back. So I'm going to write down here also, just in case, so because we are going to use it, so it will be right in front of us. A minus b times a plus b is equal a squared minus b squared. Okay. So what am I going to do here? Meaning I'm going to take this in parentheses and multiply. You know what? Let's do on the new line. Okay. X square root 11 minus square root of 3. So taking parentheses, so we have a minus b. So I'm going to do a plus b now, multiply, which will be square root 11 plus square root 3. And same thing here, square root 11 plus square root 3. And this is going to be equal. This is my a, this is my b. So at the bottom I'm going to have a squared, square root 11 times square root 11, it's going to be a squared, which is clean a will come out, which is 11. And then minus b squared, which is square root 3 times square root 3 squared. It's going to be clean 3 will come out. And in numerator, I will have the same thing. X times square root 11 plus square root 3. Makes no sense to distribute because it's not going to simplify anyhow, anything. So we leave it like that. So, and the final answer is going to be x times square root 11, 11 plus square root 3, and underneath we have 8. Question number 15. For y we have square root of 6 plus square root 5. Following this formula, we are going to multiply, for y, it's going to be equal square root 6 plus square root 5. What am I going to do? Multiply by square root 6 minus square root 5. Absolutely correct. And the same thing, change I do to numerator. And as a result, I will get 6 minus 5. Because square root 6 times square root 6, 6 come out. Square root 5 times square root 5, 5 come out. Okay, on the top I will have 4y times square root 6 minus square root 5. And because 6 minus 5 is 1, this is going to be equal only 4y square root 6 minus square root 5. Next one. Square root y over square root 3 plus square root 2y. Okay, so it's going to be square root 3 times square plus square root 2y. I need to multiply by square root of 3 minus square root of 2y, yes. And on the top, I'm going to do the same thing. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about square root y. I will add there minus square root 2y. And here I have square root of y. Okay, so this is going to be equal this is going to be equal 3 minus 2y, right? And on the top I will have, if I multiply, distribute this, I will get square root 3y. Why I am distributing? Because I have square root y here and square root y here. I can get one y out. Minus 2y squared, right? 2y squared. And that will be equal square root 3y minus y will come out, square root 2 will stay underneath. That's why I distributed. If I wouldn't be able to get y out, then it wouldn't make sense to distribute, okay? I would just leave it alone, and 3 minus 2y. Okay, and I'll solve one more, and I'm done. So square root 13 plus square root 3 divided by square root 13 minus square root of 3. All right. So what do we have here? Square root of 13 plus square root of 3. Here square root of 13 minus square root of 3. Multiply square root of 13 plus square root of 3. And the same thing here. Square root of 13 plus square root of 3. This is interesting. What we are going to get here, this is equal. At the bottom I will get 13 minus 3, right? What do we get on the top? Square root 13 plus square root 3 and twice. This is going to be square root of 13 plus square root 3 squared. Yes? Okay. So let me see if I should simplify here. All right. Will it give me any result? Yes, let's go for it. So I am going to work now with square root of 13 plus square root of 3 squared. What is that? Perfect square. That is a squared plus, okay, let me open this way. A plus b squared is equal a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Whoever doesn't know this topic, this formula, you can find my video with the title Factoring by Perfect Square. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And I explained there in details. But here I'm going to write off here a square root 13 is my a. Let me see. A and b. My a is square root 13. My b is square root 3. Let's go slow now. What we're gonna get? I need to have a squared, which is gonna be square root 13 squared. Next, I'm going to have 2ab, 2 times a is square root 13 and b is 3 times 3. So I squeezed in under, okay, let's do separate so nobody would wonder what it is. You know what, I'm going to make space, move it right here, and this one I'll move right here so I can have space. All right, so it's going to be 2 square root 13 times square root of 3, right? 2ab, and plus b squared, which is going to be square root 3 squared. Underneath I have 10. So this is going to be equal, square root 13 squared is going to be 13, plus 2 times square root 39, right? 13 times 3. And plus square root 3 squared is going to be 3 over 10. Yes? And as a result, we are going to get 13 plus 3 is 16. Plus 2 square root 39 over 10. These two like terms, 13 and 3. Okay, now I'm looking here. I can take common factor also between 16 and 2, common factor. So who doesn't know how to take common factor, find my video, the factoring. Okay. And let me see how I mentioned it. Just topic factoring, that's all. Factoring by grouping. Okay. So between 16 and 2, common factor is going to be 2. Okay, so what do we have? Actually, I have better video. It's a GCD and LCM. That's where you can find common factor. GCD and LCM, that's where is common factor, okay? At least common multiple. Okay, so here I will get, if I take 16, divide by 2, that will be 8. And 2 square root 39, if I divide by 2, I will get square root 39. Divide by 10. This one is 1, this one is 5. And the answer is 8 plus square root 39 over 5. And that's the final answer. That was a good one, huh? Okay, I hope this will help. All right. If you have any questions or if there is a problem you would like me to solve with explanation, please put in the comment and I will solve it for you with detailed explanation. Okie dokie. See you in next video.